ready, go ahead.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm very proud to be joined here today by Mayor Sylvester Turner, Congressman Al Green, we're in his district today, Congresswoman Jackson Lee, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher, State Representative Sean Thierry, Constable Alan Rosen, Tony Robinson, FEMA Region 6 Administrator, Sean Miller, Assistant Chief, Texas Department of Emergency Management for Region 2, as well as Dr. Sherry Oniego with Harris County Public Health, Dr. David Purse, City of Houston, Stephen Williams, Houston Health Department, and Jason Fuller, representative from Senator Ted Cruz's office. I'll speak brief remarks, then we'll hear from my colleagues. Drs. Oniego and Purse will be available to answer questions, and then I will also repeat my remarks in Spanish and we'll take additional questions. First, I just want to begin by acknowledging all of these folks who are here. We would not be here without each of the members of Congress, leaders at the state, local, and national level celebrating this incredible step forward for community. So I want to say thank you to each and every one of you, not just for helping make this happen, but for the efforts you've made over the past week with this storm and over the past year with COVID, always fighting for our community. I want to acknowledge the millions of people in Harris County who are still reeling from the impacts of last week's weather. For so many, this week with sunshine is just the beginning of a long path to recovery. But it is at least the beginning, and I'm grateful to see all of us working together and supporting them. Of course, I need to thank the Biden administration for recognizing our region's challenges, for rising to the occasion, not just on the weather, but on COVID as soon as they got into office. A big thank you to FEMA, the Department of Defense, for making this possible. I know you also will see their troops here making this work. A big thank you to Governor Abbott as well, and to help advocate for us with our federal partners, to TDM for their work in helping stand up this site and make sure that it happens. A big thank you to the congressional delegation, as I mentioned. They've been fighting for this community since the very beginning, and they fought to make this possible. Look, we're as tough as it gets. This is a community that stares down hurricanes, and we don't blink. We get knocked down, we get up, we dust ourselves off, we get right back to work. It's part of life here in Harris County. But folks can only take so much tragedy. It's been almost a year since the first diagnosed case of COVID-19 in Harris County. Around 500,000 people in this country have lost their lives, including 3,200 residents of this county. This week, at least 10 people froze to death. We had hundreds of reports of carbon monoxide poisoning. People who were already dealing with the economic and psychological toll of COVID have now been dealt another blow. It's been trauma after trauma, and people deserve some good news, some hope. And that's what we're delivering today. The hope of getting back to normalcy is something we all cling to as the months drag on with COVID. And at the heart of that possibility of normalcy is one thing, and that is vaccines. This site marks the biggest effort to date to get our community vaccinated. Let me give a brief overview of how it works. Over the past several weeks, preparations have been underway here at NRG on the build-out of this site. This week, the work pays off. Vaccinations for eligible members of the public will begin in full on Wednesday. Tomorrow, Tuesday, we'll be providing a limited number of vaccines as part of a soft launch. When fully running, this site will serve 6,000 people a day, 7 days a week from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. It will operate 11 lanes. It will operate for 3 weeks before transitioning to second doses for 3 weeks. So that means in total, 126,000 individuals are expected to be fully vaccinated. FEMA, through reimbursements, is covering 100% of the costs, including equipment and personnel. I know the million-dollar question is, how do folks register to get a vaccine through this site? Thanks to the work of folks here, we're going to do it the way we've insisted upon, in a way that is fair, efficient, and equitable. This center will vaccinate people using the City of Houston wait list and the Harris County wait list that we've already had online. If you're not already on the wait list, you can visit readyharris.org to find both wait lists, and of course both are also on the city website. There's a big piece on equity. All of us at the state, federal, and local level were in agreement that this site had to focus on the folks who've been left behind so far, who've been hit the hardest by COVID. We've all seen the numbers. The same people who've been disproportionately impacted by the virus, the highest number of deaths and illnesses, are the same communities who have a disproportionately low percentage of folks getting the vaccine. We have to correct that, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because that's the only way we will reach herd immunity and return to normalcy. The city and the county have each identified 10 and 25 hardest hit zip codes. We've done it by finding zip codes with the highest incidence of the virus and the highest social vulnerability index. The social vulnerability index helps us identify zip codes where folks have less access to health care, where they have more impacts if they have the virus. The individuals on the wait list who come from the cities and the county's top 10 zip codes will receive top priority for the vaccines in this site. Older folks will, as always, receive higher priority. Then we will prioritize individuals from the rest of the 25 hardest hit zip code before pulling from the broader wait list. As always, within these priorities, Harris County will select individuals at random so as to not give special advantage to folks who have better internet access or who have some sort of political connections. I do want to put these numbers in perspective. 126,000 people is a lot of people. Normally, Harris County Public Health receives 9,000 vaccines per week for a county of 5 million residents. But we need 9 million doses administered in our broader region in order to reach herd immunity. This site is a huge step, but to be clear, it is not mission accomplished. We must keep fighting for more supply. And you better believe that when we've reached our 126,000 people, we're going to turn right around and ask FEMA to stay until the job is done. For the time being, the public must keep doing the same things they've done to keep the virus at bay. But nevertheless, today is an enormous win for our community. And this Harris County community is grateful to everybody who made this happen. Before we hear from Mayor Turner, I do want to highlight one other piece of news. Good news, that is. Mayor Turner and I earlier today announced the Houston Harris County Winter Storm Recovery Fund. That fund will supplement the FEMA assistance the president approved for our region, as well as so many wonderful community initiatives, many of which these representatives and members of Congress have been leading. We are proud to have over $2.25 million in the fund already. My thanks go out to the Greater Houston Community Foundation and the United Way, who are administering the fund. To donate, visit also readyharris.org, and we'll have additional details on the fund as the days go by. It's been a rough week, but I can't think of a better way to start a new one. The sun is shining here in Harris County, and the future is bright for us. Thank you all so much. Let me now welcome Mayor Turner. Mayor, we were joking that we've been through so many disasters together at this point, but I can't think of a better person to work alongside with, Mayor. It's really been an honor, and it's an honor to continue working with you.
Let me thank Judge Hidalgo, and it is very true. We've been in this situation several times, quite a bit, and I think we've had enough practice already. So hopefully we won't have to go through this very much. What a difference a week makes. A week ago Monday was very cold, and today the weather is simply beautiful. Look, again, Judge, thank you for your leadership, and I appreciate you, and hope you enjoyed your birthday weekend. So it's good to be with you, and I appreciate everything that you have done. I do want to start by acknowledging all of these congressional leaders. I know we're in the district of Congressman Al Green of the 9th Congressional District. I do want to thank every last one of the congressional members who are present. It's because of their efforts, their relentless efforts and commitment to this whole region that we are here today. So to all of the congressional leaders, take a huge thank you for what you continue to do. And then, of course, Senator Boris Miles and Representative Sean Theory, and we're in their districts. Thank you and appreciate your efforts as well. I want to echo what the judge had to say. I certainly want to thank President Biden and the Biden-Harris administration for being so responsive, so timely. This site will make a huge difference for Houston, for Harris County, and will really increase the efforts that we have started as it relates to vaccination. So let me thank President Biden, and certainly look forward to his visit to the state of Texas, and hopefully right here in the city of Houston. He's very much welcome, and I want him to know that his visit will not be a distraction at all, but would be welcome. Would be one of the ways that we can say thank you for his responsiveness to the city of Houston. I too want to echo my thanks to FEMA because this will be a FEMA site, a mass distribution site, and it will go a long way. So to FEMA, Tony, thank you so very, very much. To the Texas Department of Emergency Management, TDEM, they have always been in close touch with all of us. They are our partner at the local level, and so I do want to thank TDEM for their responsiveness as well. And then I can't go without thanking the City of Houston Health Department, Director Steve Williams, and Dr. Peirce, and the entire team for their dedication. Last week, we didn't do much at all when it comes to vaccinations or testing. As of Saturday, we started our efforts again, and then of course now we're really going to have to double our efforts to catch up from what we were not able to do last week. And of course this site with a south opening on tomorrow and then on the 24th will go a long way. Why is it important? Today I'm reporting 547 cases and 4 new deaths as a result of COVID-19. So even in spite of the cold, the coronavirus is very much still present in our city, and we have to remind people that testing is important and getting this shot is very, very important. In terms of where we are, I know this site will be about 142,000 shots that will be taken. Will be here for 6 weeks, 3 weeks for the first vaccination, and then second for the second shot. Both the city and the county health departments will use their existing wait list, as the judge indicated. The Houston Health Department Access and Equity Strategy for the site will utilize its area agency on aging wait list with the following prioritization criteria. Priority number 1, people age 65 and older who live within a high-risk zip code, and priority 2, people age 65 years and older. Prioritization 3 will be people age 60 through 64 with underlying medical conditions who live in high-risk zip codes. And priority 4 will be people age 60 through 64 with underlying medical conditions. And so what we are trying to do, in addition to increasing the number of people who will be getting the vaccines, is also to make sure that we are doing it in an equitable way. And by focusing on these high-risk zip codes, we will be able to achieve that equity, as at the same time provide more vaccines to people. We'll be looking at, when I mean about these high-risk zip codes, we want to look at the positivity rates in these zip codes, the underlying health conditions, the economic and social data associated to people in these particular zip codes. The Houston Health Department's wait list remains open for people age 65 and older, and people age 60 and older with chronic health conditions. And those who qualify may call the department's area agency on aging, and calls will be returned for screening and scheduling. An online registration portal for those who meet the criteria remains open Tuesday at Houston. You can reach it at houstonemergency.org/COVID-19. houstonemergency.org/COVID-19. I'm also proud to announce that in addition to the FEMA site, the Houston Health Department will continue to schedule vaccinations at Bayou City Event Center, Del Mar Stadium, its health centers and multi-service centers, and partner federally qualified health centers and pharmacies. Because we were thrown off of our schedule last week, and talking with Director Williams and his staff, the goal is to do our very best to double our efforts as we go forward to get back to our original schedule. Last week's severe winter storms reminded us that teamwork and collaboration will go a long, long way. And so I can't say enough about how important this site will be to everyone in the Houston area. Judge, I continue to look forward to work with you very, very closely as we move together, working with the county to make sure we do everything we can to reach that herd immunity. So thank you so very much. I'll say my comments in Spanish after everyone has spoken.
I know it's just because we have so many speakers, right, May? We'll hear now from Congressman Al Green. Congressman, I know this is your district, and part of it is, as we look at the zip codes, a lot of the folks are in this area. And so it means a lot, the advocacy you have been engaging on behalf of your constituents and all of Harris County. Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you very much, Judge. I am so appreciative for all that you've done to make this come to fruition. I can say without question, reservation, hesitation, or equivocation that whenever I've called on the judge, she has always responded positively. And there are times, even in events such as this, when people deserve more than just a word. Sometimes they deserve an expression of appreciation in the form of an applause. Would you join me in giving the judge an expression of appreciation? Thank you so much, Judge. To the mayor, you and I had a call just recently. We won't go into the details, but after I talked to the mayor, some 6,000 plus people received the kind of aid and assistance that they were seeking. It means a lot to have partners that you can call 24/7, 365 and get a response. The mayor responds. For this, I am grateful, and for this, he deserves an expression of appreciation as well. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. To my colleagues, Fletcher, Jackson Lee, and Garcia, whom I was with just recently, I can never thank you enough for the partnerships that we have been able to forge. I greatly appreciate it, and this site is evidence of what these partnerships can produce, because we are here as a result, quite frankly, of a lot that happened in the Congress of the United States of America. They deserve an expression of appreciation. I want to acknowledge something that, for fear that I will forget, I'm going to acknowledge right away. We are inviting the president to come to Houston. We are inviting the president to come and see what his pen, his signature, has caused to come to this city. We want him to know how much we appreciate what he's done, because this site will save lives. There is no way to know how many, but with more than 100,000 persons receiving vaccinations, 126,000, lives are going to be saved. We want the president to come here so that we can thank him appropriately. So I will be sending a letter to the president. I will ask my colleagues to sign on to it. It will go out tomorrow, and I will ask noted officials to sign on to it as well, because we want this site to be remembered for more than football, more than rodeos. We want it to be remembered as the place that we came to in a time of need to make a difference in the lives of people across the length and breadth of this city, and especially those who have been left out, locked out, and left behind. We've got to bring them along. This is our opportunity to do so. I would mention this to you. As we go about this business, the county has done its part. City has done its part. Congress has done its part. Our constituents will have to do their part. If you make an appointment, please keep that appointment. It's important for us to keep the appointments because we want all 126,000 of those doses to be properly administered because lives can be saved. I say 126,000, there are 2 doses each, and we want each person to get those doses and get them timely. So my appeal to my constituents is, if you're living over in Sunnyside, if you're living in Hiram Clark, if you're living on the east side, west side, north side, any side, come to this site so that you can get the vaccination that you need. To FEMA, I must thank you for all that you've done, not just to get this site here, but also to help us through this latest catastrophe, to be quite honest, that we've had to endure. I have received much help from FEMA. I am grateful for what FEMA has done, but I'm also grateful to those who helped me at the state of Texas. Chief Nim Kidd has been of great help to me, many others as well, and I want to thank them for what they have done. This is a time for us to pull together and try our best as we can to get the symbiosis necessary to create a synergy so that we can do much more together than we could ever do separate and apart from each other. I plan to be a part of the development of that synergy to save lives. Finally, the sun is out. The judge has indicated quite judiciously that this is a brighter day. It's a brighter day, and there are brighter days to come. But those days will require that we have our hands on the arc of the moral universe. Dr. King reminded us that it's long, but it bends toward justice. But it doesn't do it on its own volition. It does it because people of goodwill, people like our Senator Boris Miles, our State Representative Sean Theory, people of goodwill take up the cause of justice and make good things happen. I am so grateful to be among these many persons who are going to make a difference in the lives of people. Thank you, Mayor, Judge, colleagues, and thank the press for getting this message to the masses. God bless you. Thank you.
Okay, we will now hear from Representative Lizzie Fletcher, who I know since being in office has been fighting tirelessly for her constituents. We've heard a lot from her with her new role in the NRG Committee. Congresswoman, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Judge Hidalgo. Thank you, Mayor Turner. Thank you for bringing us together today. And I think we all need to acknowledge that this has been an unbelievable week in the life of Houston and Harris County. And we are all so lucky and so grateful to have you at the helm. The leadership that you have shown over the last week and over the last year is tremendous. And we're seeing the result of it right here at NRG Park as we look to this incredible vaccination site. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak briefly, but I think it's really important to focus on why we are here and how we got here. And it's because we have leaders and we have partners among the leaders who care about the people who live in this community and who work night and day, literally all night and all day, especially over the last week. So I'm so grateful to you, Judge Hidalgo, and grateful to you, Mayor Turner, as well as to my colleagues in Congress. And I'm so grateful to FEMA for their work both on the winter storm as well as on the COVID relief efforts here in Houston. I associate myself with the comments of Mr. Green, the chair of our Texas delegation, and I'm so grateful to have the partnership of my colleagues in Congress as well as our colleagues across the state and the wonderful people who are working together, which is what we do in Houston. It's a message that I have known my whole life as a lifelong Houstonian, that we are best when we work together. And that's exactly what you're seeing today. Federal, state, and local government coming together to put this site in operation. And we will serve, and as Mr. Green said, we will save lives by vaccinating people across this community. I'm also pleased that in addition to the other efforts that are happening, that we're seeing additional efforts from Congress in getting additional vaccines to federally qualified health centers, to getting them to places across our community so we can get people vaccinated as quickly as possible. We know it has been a difficult year, and that's why I am so proud that this week the Congress will vote on President Biden's American Rescue Plan. And I thank President Biden for his leadership, for his commitment to addressing this vaccine. It is the top priority of this Congress to address this virus, to crush the virus so that we can go back to what we all want to go back to, so that we can move forward together. And this site is an incredible step along that journey of getting our community vaccinated, of making sure our community is healthy, and by working together to make sure that that remains true and that we take care of the people who live here. It's something that I've seen here in the last week, here in the last year, and in the many years that we have worked together. And I'm so honored and proud to represent this community and this group of leaders. So thank you so much, Judge Hidalgo, for bringing us together today, and for your work and the work of everyone here to make sure that we take care of this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman Fletcher. Let me welcome Congresswoman Jackson Lee, who has also been fighting for us, particularly on testing sites, Congresswoman. Thank you for your work on that warming centers. I know you and I were in touch over the past week and making sure we had those in the crux of the disaster. I appreciate your help with that as well.
Judge, with the airplane, I could not hear what you said, but I know I know that you said that we work well together.
Yes.
Because we do. Give her a hand. We work well together. Thank you so very much. Go ahead, Gil. You can give her a hand. She obviously said whatever the airplane or helicopter was saying. Thank you very, very much. And let me say to the two leading CEOs of this community, and that is Mayor Turner, guiding a very large city, and of course Judge Hidalgo, guiding one of the major centers of population in the nation. I am very delighted as a senior member in this delegation to have the most dynamic group of members to be able to work with, from Congressman Al Green as we come to his district, to Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia and Congresswoman Fletcher. Let me thank you so very much. Let me acknowledge the presence, I believe, of staff who are representing both Senator Cruz and Senator Cornyn, and indicate that we cannot do this alone. I am glad to be part of a government with an administration that does not see red states or blue states. It only sees people. And that is why we are here today, and that's how we have resulted in this very important new effort. I want to thank the United States military, National Guard, and those in the active duty military, active duty called up National Guard. You have been stupendous. We thank you so very much for being at our beck and call when we have been in the moment of crisis. Let me say this in the backdrop of the loss of the life of Chris Panetta, 11-year-old who froze to death. I use that example because that is an example of double crisis in our lives. And so there are people who had to move to be with relatives because they had no water, they had no heat, they were freezing, and they might not die. What does that mean as we go forward? It means that this site is going to be life-saving. It's going to be a site that it responds to Texas. Texas is a hotspot. We have not moved from being a hotspot. Our areas are hotspots. With all of the work that has been done, we still have individuals who are testing positive through our testing sites, and individuals, of course, that are being hospitalized. Our numbers are getting much better, but we have to worry about those individuals. We want to get back to school. So I can't imagine a better asset coming here. And I just want to emphasize that I am so grateful in engaging with President Biden and his administration. The Delivery Act of 2020, the COVID-19 2020 Delivery Act, my vision as relates to using FEMA to be able to set up these sites across America. We are very grateful, and maybe you don't know, we are one of 4 pilots: New York, Dallas-Fort Worth, Houston, Texas, and California. That is something to be proud of. Texas is one of 4 various pilot sites where we will have the 6,000 doses. That I think the good news is that they will be separate and apart from all of the doses coming into the county, coming into other providers, and coming into the city and others. That is a great announcement. I think it is also important to recognize that we're doing great things. I have in my hand just a small list. A small list. There's pages of these of people who are calling or wanting to get vaccinated. This is just a small list. These are all seniors who are seeking to get vaccinated. We're not finished yet. We're still on our journey. There are still pockets in our community that are desperately in need of getting these kinds of vaccinations. There are people in group homes. There are people who are mentally and physically challenged. There are people who are seniors who haven't come out of their place of living for a long, long time. This kind of site will give our local communities and those of us in service to our communities the opportunity to go into neighborhoods and to be able to vaccinate. Why? Because we have a massive center here of 6,000. I understand we'll be taking walk-ups, if I'm not mistaken, and with that in mind, we'll have transportation to provide for those walk-ups. What a bright day. And so I'm very glad to be here today. Right now, we are marking up the COVID-19 bill in its final markup, $1.9 trillion. That will bring an amazing amount of money that is needed by the county and the city to make up for those lost dollars, to pay for health professionals, first responders, fire and police, as well as municipal workers who are needed to keep this city and county going. I'm glad to have offered an amendment to ensure those dollars will continue to come. But I am grateful for this site. I want to thank FEMA. I want to thank the chief of TDEM, who is always there. I want to mention Blair, and as well my senator, Senator Boris Miles, Representative Sean Thierry, for the pain they have gone through, but they have kept on working. I'm grateful to them. For Alan Rosen, grateful to him, and all of those at all levels of government. We could not do this without you. But I would just venture to say, I've got one hand here, but I am going to try to just open these out so you can see. And these line up over and over again. My final point is that one of the things that we want to be cognizant of is that our seniors cannot always get online, but they can get on the telephone. I'm glad that we've been utilizing telephone numbers to help seniors get their COVID-19 testing, and that there's been outreach where they have been called in order to get them appointments. Everything must be done for us to reach mass immunization, for us to save lives, and we must all mourn the lives of 500,000 Americans. I can't say it more often in a way that shows those families that we are mourning with them, we are loving them, and we're saying that tragically your loved one is gone, but they will not die in vain. We're going to fight this, we're going to work on it, and Mr. President, I am grateful for your leadership. You're always welcome in Texas, but the first thing we want to do is to say thank you to you for the great work that you've done. Again, my remarks by saying, as I started, there are no red states, there are no blue states. They're just Americans. Texans are great Americans, and we are being helped today by the federal government. We will continue to work together to be helpful and to solve this tragic and terrible pandemic. Thank you, Madam, for your great leadership and the mayor's leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. And I did neglect to mention our phone number to register is 832-927-8787, 832-927-8787. We have, at last count, 328,000 people on our wait list. Let me welcome Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia. Congresswoman, I can say we've all been amazed by your efforts, particularly these days with the food bank, and I want to give you a special thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge, and thank you, Mayor, for putting us all together, to all my colleagues and all our community partners that are here today. You know, it's really plain and simple. Working together works. And when it comes in time of tragedy, this city and this region always comes together because, as the mayor said, we've weathered many storms. And the last one we had this last week was one we'd not faced before. But working together, I know that we're going to get through it. But among everything that I've seen the last 3 days, and I have visited and worked at about 10 distribution centers, while we were dealing with the cold, people were still very mindful of COVID. They have not forgotten. They were anxious to know if they were going to have to reschedule again. They were anxious to know if they had to go back to the front of the line. They were anxious to know when things were starting up. So things like this are a real shining bright star for a lot of people. But as the judge said, it is a brighter day. Our job is to make sure that it's a brighter day for everyone. Because I can tell you that in my district and in the Latino populations, we're getting hit hard, and we're getting hit hard, and then we're getting hit really hard in terms of the numbers of people that test positive and the number of deaths. And quite frankly, some of the people in my district feel like they don't really have access to some of the testing sites. So I think that we need to continue to work with the Biden administration to make sure that we have mobile units, to make sure that we're at all the community health centers, at all the FQHCs, that we keep this one here as long as we can to help augment and supplement what's going on, and that nothing gets shut off because we've got this here. I think it's really going to be incumbent upon us to make sure if we're going to hit the goal that the judge just said of 8 million, that we have accessibility for everyone so that everyone can see a bright star. Now, the good news, Mayor and judges, that help is on the way, as my colleagues have mentioned. We've been working the district, and we're probably all going to be leaving first thing in the morning to Washington, and we'll be working on the rescue plan. So, Mayor, I think if the bill goes through, and we do include and keep the part of the help for local governments, you are set to receive $569 million. Judge, I think your number is a little bit higher, $921 million. That will go a lot to help supplement and make up for the lost revenues that these local governments have suffered from because of all of the COVID crisis. Now, the other good news is that testing and vaccine dollars will be $400 billion. We can't forget that we're here about the shots, but we still have to continue testing. And I want to right now thank all the public for doing their part in wearing their masks, social distancing, washing their hands, and doing what they need to do. Because even though we're getting vaccinated, it doesn't mean you forget about all the masks and everything else. And for those of you who are still a little nervous, please know it doesn't hurt. My allergies shots hurt more than my COVID shots. It's safe, it's quick, it's easy. So please sign up or call and make your appointment and come. And as Congressman Green said, keep the appointment. I know some of you are probably playing the game of making 2 or 3 appointments at 2 or 3 different places. Once you've been to one, cancel the others, because otherwise you're wasting a slot that somebody else could have. So please be mindful of keeping your appointment and be mindful of canceling it if you just can't get there or you get it somewhere else. So with that, I'll close to just again, Judge and Mayor, thank you so much for stepping up and doing so much at the local level. But I'm confident that with the Biden administration and the rescue plan and that it will pass, that you'll be able to get more help and that we'll reach that goal of making sure that the millions of people in our area that need to have the vaccine get it and that it's accessible and equitable for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. We're in Senator Boris Miles' district. Senator, thank you so much for all your work on behalf of your district and for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge. Let me thank Judge Hidalgo and say happy belated birthday to our illustrious mayor, to our badass congressional team, and to all the other elected officials back there. I really want to thank FEMA. Thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for hearing the cry, and thank y'all for making sure this will be successful. And also my state colleague, Sean Theory. You know, you're standing in the middle of Senate District 13. This location is one of the hot spots. This area in Southeast Houston is one of the hot spots when it comes to COVID-19. So I'm very honored and privileged that it was decided, Judge, it was decided, Mayor, that this would be the location. My congressional team, I can't say enough about the work that y'all have been doing over the past 9-10 months. You know, we've kept our heads up, and I know it always hadn't been easy. But with the collaboration of all these different levels of government, I'm honored and truly honored and know that a change is about to come. A change is about to come. You know, we got to go back to Austin, Sean and I, on tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of questions answered. Lots of questions answered relating to energy, relating to gas and water, but also we haven't forgotten that we have a epidemic going on right here through all of this, Mayor. But one thing for sure, as you look around, as you see everybody that's here today, Houston will remain strong. Houston will remain strong. Thousands of people have died, as my mayor said. But you know what? Our job now is to make sure 1,000 people don't die anymore. And that's what everybody's standing here for, and that's what we're looking forward to, rolling up our sleeves and working together at all levels of government to make sure that as true public servants as we are, we're taking care of our community, our city, our county, and our state. So I ask you, let's keep the faith and keep the fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator, for fighting on behalf of us now that you're headed to Austin. And you will be there, I know, with Representative Sean Thierry. Representative Thierry.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to everyone who's here, all my federal, state, local officials. Thank you to this dynamic congressional team. Congresswoman Jackson Lee, thank you for all you do. Congressman Al Green, my congressman in my district. Thank you, Congressman Sylvester Garcia. Thank you, Congressman Lizzie Fletcher. Thank you so much. Mr. Mayor and County Judge, I just want to say to you that this means everything. It's our congressional delegation and to FEMA. This is the game changer today. I was here a couple of weeks ago with NRG Park in the heart of my district. This is the heart of House District 146, which I'm so honored to represent as the successor to Senator Boris Miles. And I saw with my own eyes this facility, this event facility, set the gold standard, as I say, the national standard for logistics and operations. So I think I definitely want to give a special thanks to NRG Park, Executive Director Ryan Walsh, for all that you've done. They were here with Herman Memorial and they set the standard, and our United States government listened. I called the state, you all work in the federal level, and so what you're seeing today here, everyone, is truly good government at work. We all know that this past week wreaked havoc on our city and our state with the winter storms and the power outages. But what we want everyone to know is that public servants, we are still committed. We have not taken our eyes off of the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic is the deadliest pandemic in our nation's history. So what we're doing today is letting everyone in Harris County and the city of Houston know that we will be open 7 days a week for 8 weeks, vaccinating the most vulnerable members of our community. Health equity matters. And so, Judge, you made the comment that the sun was shining. And I want to reassure everyone that's listening today that it's not just shining on one part of town. The sun is shining in Sunnyside that I represent. It's shining in 3rd Ward, it's shining in Sharpstown, it's shining in Westbury, it's shining in Houston, and it's shining in Harris County because of wonderful public servants, our Constable Alan Rosen. Look at this collaboration. So I want to reassure everyone
that we are here. This drive-through vaccine site is, as I said before, going to set the gold standard. I wanted to point out just a couple of specifics. We want people to register, to go to the website and register. If you cannot get online, call the number that our judge gave. So if you're a senior and you're not computer literate or you don't have a computer, we have accounted for that. You don't have to do it that way. So you will get an appointment. And finally, I just want to tell everyone, as our illustrious Congresswoman said, that it's not about red or blue. We are here. United we stand. Together we thrive. And that is why we are here. We will defeat this pandemic. It is not over by a long shot, but the science tells us that the vaccines are our best tool and our weapon to fight this. So I want to thank everyone for allowing me to be part of this press conference. I will continue to work with the senator at the state level and continue to push for health equity to make sure our most vulnerable population, those who are high on the social vulnerability index, get vaccines. Today is your day, and we hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative. And we are proud of this site, our Harris County Stadium, and I'm very proud to partner with my colleague, Commissioner Adrian Garcia, everything we're doing in Harris County. Commissioner.
Judge, thank you very much. And it's exciting. It's incredible that here we are in this nice warm day, just a few days removed from one of the most chilling weather events that we've ever had. But as the judge and Mayor Turner have said, first and foremost, I do want to acknowledge our congressional delegation who is working very closely with President Biden and with Vice President Harris. Thank you. Thank you for your advocacy. Thank you for making sure that Houston, Harris County, and Texas are not forgotten. Thank you very, very much. Let's give it up for our delegation once again. Thank you. And to our state officials, thank you for leading the charge. And we do have to talk about ERCOT. So thank you so much for that, Senator. That's right. And but to our state officials, NIMKID, and to all of the folks who are running emergency operations, and FEMA. You know, we want to be grateful for the federal government. I think I heard Mayor Turner say it the other day that people complain about government until you need it. And then when you need it to work well. And today is an example of good government at work. And we have demonstrated here in Harris County how well we can make government work, whether it is distributing water like Congresswoman Garcia and I were doing yesterday, food distributions, testing, whatever it is, we have demonstrated how we can make government work here in Harris County under the leadership of Judge Hidalgo and along with my colleagues on Commissioner's Court. But on the other front, we have to make sure that we have the resources to make it work as efficiently and as effectively as the general public expects. We want to get to a normal. We want to get to a place where we don't have to say, you're muted. And we want to make sure that we are remembering that it is good to hug, that it is good to be able to be next to the people you love the most and not have to worry about social distancing. But the only way that that's going to happen is that whether we continue to do two fundamental things. Number one, continue to get tested. And then secondly, make sure that you sign up to get the vaccine. Make sure that you are encouraging others. And if you've gotten the vaccine, thank you. Now be a good ambassador and encourage others to step forward and participate. There has been a big effort on everyone's part here to ensure that this vaccine site gets stood up. So again, I don't want it to be lost on anyone. This is a big deal. This is a great day in Harris County, and I'm so excited and grateful. because, as Congresswoman Garcia has alluded to, look, we're all in it together. But when the Latino community led on the mortality, the mortality rate during the peak of the COVID pandemic, it's hard to ignore that. We're all in it together. No one should suffer. No one should be able to risk death. But we did see where that was happening. It's people of color, it's underserved areas, it's impoverished communities, and we in Harris County can do better when we're all working together. So I'm very grateful once again for this happening. Now I encourage the public to do its part, step forward and get that vaccine. Gracias. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Commissioner. I do want to acknowledge my colleagues, Commissioner Rodney Ellis, as well, Commissioner Tom Ramsey, and Commissioner Jack Cagle. None of this would be possible without Constable Alan Rosen and his team. Constable.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Judge. What a great leadership we have here, Mayor. Our congressional delegation, wonderful. Congresswoman Lee said it best. Why did they pick this site? Because we execute. We get things done. We're a get-her-done county and we're a get-her-done city. And that's why I think this facility was picked. I'm responsible for the security and welfare of everybody that comes out and gets a vaccine here, and I take that very seriously. And I look forward to ensuring this is a safe place for people to come and get their shot. Please, I implore you to come and get this vaccination. Be sure that you register to do it. People that just show up are not going to be allowed just to come on in. So we really need people to go through the process and do it effectively. And, you know, we are prepared. We've been a part of vaccines throughout Harris County and Houston to the tune of about 74,000 shots. And I'm proud to say we hadn't had a single incident of any problem whatsoever at any of the vaccination sites. I also will tell you, on average, it's our experience, it takes between about 18 minutes and 40 minutes to get through the line. And with FEMA here, what great leaders FEMA are, it's going to be equally as good. So I want to thank the leadership. Congress, y'all are rock stars for making this happen here. Thank you to our leadership, and I look forward to serving and ensuring this mission goes off without a hitch. God bless.
Thank you, Constable. FEMA, you all have truly brought some hope to our community. Thank you. Let me welcome Tony Robinson from FEMA Region 6.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank the congressional delegation for their support. Thank our representative from the Senator's office, and thank our local elected representatives here, TDM and DOD and the county and city health departments. First, let me just say I know there's a lot of people still hurting out there from the winter storms, and the men and women of FEMA are going to be here to work with our state and local partners to help you on your road to recovery. In addition to that, under the President's national strategy for COVID-19 response and pandemic preparedness, we have 3 lines of effort that we're doing. First, providing 100% funding to state, local, and tribal governments to help them with their vaccine distribution. Secondly, we're providing federal personnel, response, and equipment to help state, local, and tribal governments. And then third, we're setting up community vaccine centers like you see here today. And so the goal of that is to help increase the rate of vaccination in an efficient, effective, and equitable manner, especially focusing on the high-risk populations. This doesn't happen just because FEMA's here. I can't say enough about our Department of Defense partners, the Texas Division of Emergency Management, and the city and county health departments for their help. Collectively, we will make this work, and our goal is to do 6,000 vaccines a day. So please, register and get vaccinated. Thank you.
Thank you. We're enormously grateful to our state partners in setting this up. Sean Miller with the Texas Department of Emergency Management.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Judge Hidalgo, Mayor Turner, and distinguished guests. On behalf of the Texas Division of Emergency Management, I want to thank our federal and local partners who will make this event successful. I especially want to thank the leadership and the cooperation between the county and the city. Through their endeavor, will make this site a locally led, successful event. The state will continue to request for further vaccination sites such as this through the cooperation between our federal and local partners. in order to ensure that every Texan has a vaccine that's made available to them. Thank you.
Okay. We'll take questions. Yes.
Can I get a clarification on whether or not you're doing walk-up? They have to be registered before they get here.
We are not accepting walk-ups in this facility. Folks have to register online or via phone. And again, the information is readyharris.org. We've got the information for both the Harris County registration and the City of Houston registration is on there too, as well as 832-927-8787. And the reason is we want to keep things organized for safety purposes. We need to make sure that we're not creating any sort of unwieldy lines or people congregating. You know, there's traffic on the outskirts of these areas, and so that's just the way we've been operating our sites, and it's worked well. So folks need to pre-register. Yes.
A number of people are concerned about injuries from the vaccine. What procedures do you have in place for civilians to hold vaccine manufacturers liable if they are injured from their product?
We were just talking to our public health department about this earlier today. The folks have been doing really well with the vaccines. Everybody who gets a vaccine, excuse me?
How many deaths have there been from the vaccine?
I obviously don't know national statistics, but I will tell you everybody, let me finish. Everybody who gets a vaccine through this site is going to have the opportunity for the 15-minute waiting period, observation period. So if anything happens, folks are ready to respond. But really, the statistics have panned out. Vaccines are safe, vaccines are effective, and we need this community to get vaccines if we want to return to normalcy. That is the key point.
Question for Mayor Turner. Do you guys have an approximate number of folks on the city's wait list?
That number initially was 70. We've opened it up, so it's higher than that now. And I'm glad and I also want to give out the telephone number. I gave out the email number, the online number, 832-393-4301. And the way we have operated, we've kept the list at 70,000. As we pull down, then people can call and we stay at that number. But I think the number is higher because we're accepting everyone at this point. With the opening of the FEMA site, we're encouraging people to call or go online and be placed on the waiting list.
And people who will be getting vaccines on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday when this place opens up in full, have they been notified, or should people expect to be getting phone calls today, tomorrow?
At this point, people have been notified, and then that number will simply continue. Then for two things, for the FEMA site, as well as for the other sites. All of the other sites that we've been operating will continue to operate. And in fact, we're hoping to increase the numbers at the other sites as well. The goal is to double our efforts.
Can you say what you learned from the mass vaccination site at Minute Maid? Like what you've learned from now? At
the Minute Maid site at the very beginning, as you know, we ended up vaccinating over 6,400 people in a single day. When it comes to quantity or numbers, that's great. When it comes to equity, it is not as great. And so we have learned from that, and now we're including within that number vulnerable populations, the zip codes, where the positivity rate, you have to factor that into your equation, and that's what's taking place here. So in addition to the 6,000, equity is a built-in and part of the equation.
Are there any plans for people who are elderly to help them get to the site, or people who are mobile?
Yes, so we're working on all of those areas of equity, and always including geographic area equity. So one of the things we are doing is in these top zip codes that we've identified, we are also sending mobile vaccine units to those zip codes specifically for folks that can't come over here. We have worked to carve out a portion of our Harris County Public Health vaccines for folks living in assisted living facilities, homeless shelters, senior projects, basically prioritizing areas where large numbers of older folks live together who have limited mobility. And we'll continue exploring options. We know it's an enormous county. We know we've got a lot of work to do on public transportation, and you all know I'm a big proponent of that. So it's going to be a challenge, but we're working in a multifaceted way.
And a question for Kate,
Yeah.
Is Harris County in a better situation on hospitalizations where businesses can return to 75%? Yep.
You know, there's two ways to look at it, right? Relatively speaking, from where we were about a month and a half ago, you know, we were up here and now we're a little bit better. But remember, we started from down here. So if we were to say, all right, come one, come all, time to encourage more gatherings once again, those hospitalization numbers would begin to climb up yet again. And the problem is we would be starting that climb from the highest level we've ever been. We've basically done this roller coaster that is still incredibly high when you compare it to other places, to the rest of the world. So right now, unfortunately, the message needs to continue to be, please do not gather with members outside of your household. We are facing enough crises as it is, and the way out of it is through these vaccines and that continued change in behavior. I know folks are exhausted. We've been at it a year, but the way the virus spread hasn't changed. So wearing that mask and not gathering with folks outside the household, that's the way to do it. Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Any other questions?
Oh, just a brief note from the Congress. Oh, did you have a note, Congresswoman?
When I wanted to thank the United States military, I want to make sure that we are very proud to know that these are active. Oh, good. Can you do that for me, please? That's why I came back to the mic. But I wanted to make sure that you knew these are 222 active duty Air Force, and it's dual command by our, I just want them to be seen. Come up and be seen. Dual command on Air Force and Army. And we want to thank Two-Star General. And we want to thank this general. When they get in the business, they get it done. General Salter. Do I have it almost right,
yes,
sir?
Ma'am, that's absolutely correct.
So he's dual command, 222 active duty Air Force and Army. And I just wanted to have you come up and personally thank you so very much.
It's an honor to be in your community to help fight COVID. I can tell you that the 222 members of this team have come from across the nation to go on the offensive against COVID in the greater Houston, Harris County area. And they're not only honored, but they're excited. They're excited to slowly bring an end to COVID-19. Thanks, man.
Thank you so very much. I wanted to make sure as well, Judge, that we know that people will not walk up, but we are working, as the judge has indicated, about dealing with an expanded mobility for people who don't have cars or don't have the ability to be able to get here to this site, but we're working to make sure that everyone has access to COVID-19. So thank you very much, and thank you for offering those opportunities for mobility for those who are physically challenged. I said mentally challenged because I've met some of these individuals in group homes who have not been vaccinated, and they meet the criteria, and as well as seniors who are living in assisted living sites. We all want to make sure that they all have access, and then also hard to hit areas of people of color, that this community has been working very hard to ensure that they get vaccinated as well. Thank you, Judge, very much.
Hey, Judge, I just have one quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
Clarify real quick on the high-risk zip codes. Do you mean by high risk as the number of cases, the number of deaths? Like, what's the definition of high risk?
So there's a formula, and the city and the county formula is slightly different, but it's pretty much the same thing. So I'll speak of the county one is, we see that the incidence of how many cases per 100,000 people in the past month, and then how many cases since the beginning of COVID. And in addition to that, we have the social vulnerability index. So I think it's like 50% social vulnerability, and then 35 and 15%. And in that way, we've identified the top 25 zip codes. We'll start with the top 10, and then go to the next 15, and then the rest of the list. Within that, there will be randomized selection, a priority also for older residents.
And are you making the zip codes public?
Yes, we will make the zip codes public. You guys should have it already, otherwise tomorrow. And we need your help spreading the word to those zip codes for them to register. Of course, we are also working with our community partners to get the word out and have community partners call members of the community, encourage them to register, because we want to make sure it's the folks that are hardest hit. And by virtue of that definition is going to be, these hard to reach communities, and we all need to work together on that.
Yeah, it is defined by the city as people with more vulnerable to severe COVID-19 illnesses as identified by positivity rate, underlying health conditions, economics, and social strata. And that will cover most of our communities of color and low-income communities.
That's weigh that and, I guess, age.
Yeah, and then there are those 4 priority designations, okay, 1 through 4, okay? 126.
126?
Yes.
And how soon will you start contacting the people on the list?
The several folks have already been contacted because they're starting vaccination tomorrow. In fact, I believe everybody who's going to be vaccinated this week should have already been contacted or is already in the process of being contacted. And as I said, we got plenty to choose from. It's going to be 126,000 people. So times 2 for the number of doses. And as I said, we're not letting FEMA off the hook. I already told Tony he's going to have a hard time leaving. So, that's what they've allocated for. But of course, we're going to be pushing for them to stay.
And which shot is this?
This is the Pfizer vaccine. That's a good question. So far, we've been administering the Moderna vaccine at the city and county sites. Here we're going to be administering the Pfizer vaccine, and same efficacy rate. They have to wait 21 days in between shots as opposed to 28. The refrigeration is a little bit different, but we're equipped. We were just looking at that, and all of the representatives are going to be taking a tour immediately after the questions. And I know we've been going for a while, so I'll save my Spanish remarks for the Spanish media and let folks go on with the tour. Anybody else?
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Great job, Judge.